where the Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2 weeks and a bye weekend. And, of course, the Terps taking on Indiana and the World Series going on, but still have some residue and some lingering shock from our MetLife daily double of 2 losing games, the Giants and then the Jets. We welcome in from SNY in Nuevo York in the Big Apple, where I'm spending the weekend seeing Billy Joel, amongst other things. Janae Coakley was in the press box at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. I did not say hello, but I apologize, Janae. Great to have you on. And I think from the Ravens' perspective, the locker room was a little caustic after the game. But from the Jets' perspective, this whole Fitzpatrick-Smith thing sort of fits right on into dysfunction in Jets land now, doesn't it?
It's always an adventure covering the New York Jets. This is my 7th season covering them, and I feel like every year I'm talking about the quarterback controversy. So, you know what? Let's just add it to this year.
Well, it kind of in the end cost Rex his job, right? I mean, they never could figure that thing out with Sanchez moving forward. And now as we sit here, we talked about it all last week, they have 4 quarterbacks, which means they probably don't have one. I thought the Fitzpatrick press conference, I know he's getting beaten up about it, and I know everybody that likes him and takes his side and understands what kind of an integrity guy and what kind of leader he was. I thought it was kind of like hard on his sleeve kind of thought. I thought it was kind of profound, but very, very unique to come out and say, nobody believes in me. That's why I'm the backup quarterback, right?
And I mean, Monday I always go and talk to Todd, and as you know, Gino actually tore his ACL after Sunday's game, so Fitz is now back to being the starter. And Todd was asked about, what did you think about Ryan's press conference after the game? And he's like, you know what, he can be, I'll say, ticked off, even though he didn't use that word. Ryan can be ticked off all he wants as long as it stops the turnovers. I mean, I was really surprised at how Ryan Fitzpatrick was after the game because they had just won. They needed a win, and it's not as if Ryan had been playing great football. He has 11 turnovers, 6 fumbles. I mean, they needed a change.
Yeah, he was part of the problem, right? I mean, you can't divorce yourself from that, right?
That's just it. The team was 1-5. I mean, and Ryan, you weren't playing great ball at all. 11 turnovers. You had 6 in one game. So I don't know why. Well, of course the owner, the coach, and the GM lost faith. They lost faith in everybody. You're getting paid $12 million, and you're 1-5.
Well, the whole offseason was tumultuous for him and for the organization. It felt pretty acrimonious throughout. I mean, it never felt friendly. And then all of a sudden, well, here's $12 million. Come on in and be our leader all of a sudden. That felt like a recipe for a disaster. It felt like a recipe for a 1-5 start to me.
Well, I mean, and their schedule doesn't help them. I mean, they had a terrible schedule, and then you lose Eric Decker in week 2, and Eric Decker was a big part of this offense. But there's a reason that Ryan Fitzpatrick has been a journeyman in the NFL. I mean, he had a great season last year at the Jets, but he bet on himself. He, thought he was worth $12 million, that you're going to have a great year. And when you start out the way you do and you're 1-5 and, like I said, not playing good football and missing throws and throwing interceptions and turning the ball over and struggling in the red zone, and they couldn't get a run game going, you have to be benched. I mean, you wanted to be the big star in New York. Well, when you're not the big star, you got to expect to be benched.
She is Janae Coakley, covering all things sports and the Jets at SNY in New York. You can follow her journey out on Twitter at Janae Coakley. That's JeaneCoakley out on Twitter. What'd you make of the Ravens? We've got our own mess around here and plenty to clean up, and certainly for Joe Flacco. 6 yards of rushing, the 2 interceptions, both thrown to Perryman, who didn't even make a play on either one of the interceptions. Meanwhile, Flacco comes back here, and he's the guy making the big bucks. He's the one getting crushed for all of this at this point. But I think the offensive line and certainly the injuries and the age and the missing quality football players that they were counting on to play aren't there now.
I mean, the Baltimore Ravens are more than welcome to come back to MetLife, and they want to help the Jets out. I'm not surprised at Joe Flacco, but he's been hurt all week, and this D-line